How's it going, YouTube? This is Levi, and we're back with another video where I'm going to go into depth about products. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment. It really helps the algorithm to promote these videos. We're trying to grow the channel and provide more than just eFoil experiences, but offer our expertise on the internet. But anyways, here we go. So first and foremost, let me say this is a hot take. Prepare yourself. The board on an electric hydrofoil is really not as important as some of the other features that you want to select, namely the wings that you're using and the battery that you're using. Ultimately, the board is just for you to get planing before you can get to the foiling point. Selecting your board is really a matter of your height, weight, experience level, athleticism, and ride style. It's less a matter of how it's going to shape your ride when you're flying, because that's ultimately going to be determined by how much your craft weighs and which wing you're using. The other thing to consider with your board selection is the construction. The construction really, it affects the weight somewhat, but it's more affects the durability. They have a fiberglass model, and then they have two carbon models. The Carbon Classic was available this year, but is no longer in production. You might be able to score one on the used market if you got a Series 2. These are a really good value, and then they have their new carbon. We can look at the prices here. Our fiberglass is only $1,700. The Carbon Classics, $2,200, only $500 more. And our new carbon, Series 3 carbon, is $3,700. So $2,000 more than the fiberglass. There is some construction differences. Obviously the fiberglass is going to be durable, but not as durable as the carbon, because this is a PVC sandwich. What that means is there's a layer of PVC foam, heavy impact foam, dense foam, in between two layers of carbon, which provides tremendous strength and rigidity, especially when it comes to impacts. If you drop this or run it into a dock, the damage on this is going to be dispersed a lot better than the damage on the fiberglass. You crash this into a dock or something, or drop it with the battery fully loaded, we're going to get some pretty serious cracks. That's going to need some repairs. Granted, fiberglass is much easier to repair. Most surfboard shops will be totally capable of doing fiberglass repairs. Carbon fiber takes a little bit more experience, and also the materials are more expensive. Carbon cloth is much more expensive than fiberglass cloth is. So long term, the carbon is going to give you more durability and probably cost less in repairs down the road. But, up front, you're paying more for. So they also have an inflatable board, which is kind of cool. These are super durable, super robust, great for larger beginners, or just, if you got a boat, you want to store it on a boat, space is limited on a boat, and this packs down really, really small. It's really cool. And it's a really durable board. It's a really primo inflatable. This is not like a cheap, Costco level inflatable. I had one of these in the Caribbean last winter, and I kept it on the beach every day, fully pressurized, and I had no leaks from the course of November all the way to April, May. No issues with it. Really premium quality. The biggest things with the new carbon is the recessed deck pad. It's hard to tell from the image here, but the deck pad on the new carbon boards is flush with the board itself. There's not a lip where the deck pad starts. If you look at the Series 2, it's kind of hard to tell from this image, but you can see kind of a line where the edge of the deck pad is. This deck pad sits on top of the board more, and is also a different material. It's a more absorbent material. It actually sucks up a lot more water, which in turn adds to weight. The fiberglass is the same deck pad as the new Series 3 carbon, but it's a cheaper construction. If you're a baller on a budget, the fiberglass board is a really great option. I've sold a couple of these to people, and this gets you right in at around 10 grand fully with everything you need. But anyways, that's the constructions. You know, there's not really, obviously the carbon is the nicest. It's going to be the most durable, and it's going to save you, you know, money in the long run if you're going to be riding at a place where there's probably damage potential. You know, the shapes really, the new refined shape, I've tried it a couple of times, really has, I can't really tell a difference on the ride experience. It's mostly those silicone handles. Those are much nicer to grab, and they're going to be much more durable. The old handles that were like a neoprene foam kind of thing, they got really destroyed in the sun pretty easily. Like 4 months and the handles are like falling apart. Granted, I'm using them 5 days out of the week, then they're washed and sit in the sun for like 4 hours every day, so they get pretty worn. But the new silicone handles are definitely gonna stand up to more use and abuse. At the end of the day, it's mostly you're paying for creature features. Between the old board and the new board, it's not really essential to upgrade in my opinion. Fiberglass is a really good option over the carbon if you're only going to be using it very limitedly through the year, like if it's not going to get a lot of abuse, or if you're riding in like a nice lake where there's not a lot of rocks or boat channel to crash into. But that's it for the constructions. The other thing is our board size. So they have, you know, the inflatable being one shape. They have the standard board, which is just labeled the Fliteboard, or the one we call it 99 or 100, which corresponds loosely to the literage. 100 liters is a good size for if you have no water sports experience, never wakeboarded, never surfed. You know, if you got minimal experience, the 100 liter board is going to be the best option for you to get up and foil, not sink the board, and just basically have a good time. Whereas the Pro, most people after 1 or 2 lessons on the standard are totally ready to jump into the Pro. For every 10 boards I sell, 9 of them are Pros. It's 5 foot even by 24.5 versus 5'8" by 28. That width difference is kind of the big thing. There's actually not a tremendous weight difference between all the boards. You're looking at maybe like 3 to 5 pound difference. The biggest thing is so much of the weight is coming from the battery that the Pro board, the 100 liter, the Ultra, with the big battery are all still really heavy and make it hard to maneuver. If you're really concerned with maneuverability, you want to go with a Nano that's going to decrease the weight and put more of the weight closer towards the mass. So that really is what impacts your swing weight. Having skinnier rails really allows you to bank it that much harder before the side of the board, the rail, hits the water. The big board, the big Fliteboard, it's really wide. So you have to ride really, really high off the water in order to get a lot of angle going when you're banking. Whereas the Pro, you don't have to be riding max height all the time to really get it to carve and corner really easy. So especially for people who are just getting into the sport, the Pro automatically gives you more of a better platform for carving harder and a larger range of angle before you're going to clip the water and eat it. Let's take a look at the Ultra. So it took me about, a year and a half worth of riding to really get comfortable to preferring riding on the Ultra. When I first tried it out, when they first released the Ultra, I was like, nope, too small, not into it, because it was really hard to get planing. Really takes a different level of speed, control, finesse. It's unlike like riding a Pro or the standard board. And the benefits didn't really outweigh the cons in my opinion, because this board gets really tricky in choppy water, especially for like a full adult. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I'm definitely not the smallest rider. I'm pretty average, around 180 pounds with my wetsuit, PFD, everything on, like 5'9", pretty average. And I sink this board really easily when I don't have a lot of speed or if I'm not using a really big wing. That makes it really challenging if you're in super choppy conditions. If you got waves or wind swell pushing water on top of your board, the nose just keeps getting buried before you can get planing again and get back on it. Really sucks the fun out of your session. If you fall one time, it takes like 5, 10, 15 minutes of struggling to get back on the board. So I don't really recommend this for somebody as their only board. It's really fun for those really nice, flat, glassy days where it's super clean conditions. Even surfing, I would take this out on a really clean, glassy morning. Would not take it out if there's a lot of onshore wind or if it's just really soupy conditions, because I know it's just going to be a struggle getting back up on the board. I would own a Pro because I could ride that in much more varied conditions. I'm lucky here, I have the pick of the litter. I can choose to ride an Ultra. On the days I want to ride the Ultra, I could choose to ride a Pro. I even choose to ride the standard board sometimes. If I know I'm going to be trading or doing a lot of swimming, or if it's really cold and I don't want to be halfway in the water the whole time, I can sit on a Pro board out of the water, totally dry. So, if you don't have a smorgasbord to choose from, this isn't the best only board option to have. Interesting fact, I've weighed the Pro and the Ultra, and they're actually the same weight, like within a couple of ounces of each other. So a lot of people think, oh yeah, get the Ultra, it's gonna save me on weight versus the Pro. Not actually the case. If you're really looking on cutting the weight down, the Ultra L is going to be the lightest board, but only by 2 pounds. You see they have here 2.2 pounds. In the grand scheme of your weight, that's like 5% of the board's weight with the nano battery. For $600 more, you're shedding 5% of the weight. I wouldn't spend that money to shed that amount of weight. I would just maybe chill on Taco Bell for a week and lose 3 pounds. Just that's me personally, my personal opinion. It's progressively harder the taller and heavier you are and the less experience you have. Like, if I didn't have the privilege of being able to ride whatever I want whenever, I would buy a Pro. This is going to be just as light and, only a 1.5 inch thinner rail. Performance-wise, it's good. And the longer length gives you a little bit more breathing room when it comes to getting your chest back up on the board and getting back to planing and foiling when you're in some really choppy conditions. This is a lot easier to keep that nose out while you're getting enough speed to stand up. The Ultra is really hard. You lose 10 inches off the nose of the board, and that really makes a big impact when you're trying to get planing and not sink it. So, Ultra is cool. It's my favorite board on flat water days, but it was not, if I were to buy a rig and not have, my pick of the litter, I would get a Pro. It's totally, the nice thing about Fliteboard is you can buy whatever boards down the road and replace them. You're not stuck with just the boards are considerably cheaper than if you were to buy a replacement board from other brands, because the Fliteboards, the computer is not housed in the board itself. The computer is actually integrated into your eFoil mast. That makes it really easy to get a Pro, and then down the road when you're ready to push the limits or a flat water day or whatever, you get an Ultra. You're not, the computer and everything isn't in there, so it cuts down the price a lot, and it makes it really easy to swap between the different setups. At the end of the day, ultimately, your wing selection is going to dictate how maneuverable it feels, how much lift you're getting, the speed you got to ride on. You know, the board is really just so you have a stable platform going from laying down to standing and foiling. The bigger the board, the easier it's going to be, the less power you're going to waste juicing it to get enough speed so that it planes really good. Like, I use considerably more power with the Ultra because I have to thrust it super hard to get planing quickly before I can stand up. Versus on the standard board, I can stand on one and then gradually increase my speed nice and slowly and hit my foil point really easy. I'm not giving myself more power and then easing off once I start foiling. So I definitely recommend trying boards before you buy them, because that's the biggest question people have is, which board do I buy? And I tell them all the time, your foil is more important than what board you're selecting. You know, a big foil is going to be a slow speed, chill ride. A small foil is going to be a high speed, intense ride. You could use either board. You could use any board with any wing and really customize your experience. So I kind of dodged the question because there is no right board to buy. It really depends on how you're going to be riding it and what combo you're using it with. Again, definitely recommend, if you have the option to try out a board before buying it, do that. Try a standard board, try a pro, try a couple different foils. You really have to try it out and figure it for yourself, because ultimately it's your setup. You're the one who's going to be riding it. You're the one who is going to need to feel good. Anything I say on the internet, you can totally disregard it because it's my personal opinions based on how I like to ride. But that's it for the video. Hopefully this shed some light on the different options for the board and changes your concept of how important the board really is. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. I read all the comments and I'll try to answer all your questions. Like and subscribe, comment. It really helps us for the algorithm, and we'll see you next time on the water.